Everyone, this is the Metropolitan Council meeting, February 12th, 2025. I'm Charlie Sally, Chair. Welcome, and good to see an audience, and good to see all our council members. We have a big agenda with a very important approval vote, as well as other business. So unless there's an objection, I will take the agenda as approved. But first, we have approval of minutes from our January 22nd meeting, and there is actually just a point of correction for those draft minutes that were sent out, and I'm just going to read what that little correction is, just to make sure it's official. For the minutes that we presented, a business item 2025-14 is an administrative item amending the region's transportation improvement program as a streamlined tip amendment. The item passed on both the Transportation Committee and the Council's consent agendas, but the Council's consent agenda item title and the Transportation Committee action were correct. However, the committee's report proposed action was erroneous and reflected a prior tip amendment. In the minutes before the council today, the proposed action as passed by the council reflects the item title and the Transportation Committee proposed action. If the council approves the minutes today, we will repost a redlined committee report on January 22nd meeting webpage to reflect the appropriate action and correct the committee report's language. Clear as crystal, is that right? Does that make sense? All right, having said that, given that correction, is there a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, clarification, questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes with those corrections are approved. On to our public invitation. This is the time of the meeting where we invite members of the public to come and address the council on matters not on the agenda. We have a pre-registered person who would like to address us. And I remind that it is a 3-minute presentation period. So with that, Tom Magden, please come forward, and you are welcome.
Is this where I go?
Yes, wherever you'd like.
There are plenty of microphones. My name is Thomas Magden. I am a 20-year resident of the Loring Park section of Minneapolis. My street address is Nicollet Mall. I'm here to speak in direct opposition to any proposal which would take any buses off Nicollet Mall for any reason at any time. Nicollet Mall has had buses since 1967, which is, I believe, the year this very body was created. It goes back quite a while. The buses have served for 3 generations and have done a great job. Nicollet Mall is not in very good repair these days, but I venture to say probably the best thing we have is the bus service. In front of my apartment, there are 4 bus lines that run, the 10, the 11, the 17, 18. I use all of them. My corner begins the downtown zone going north and ends the downtown zone going south. My nearest neighbor is the Hyatt Hotel. I have been using the buses for years, and I use them on a daily basis, any combination of the 4 lines. The people who ride the buses are, like myself, seniors, many handicapped seniors, lots of handicapped people. We have people on canes, crutches, walkers, wheelchairs, motorized chairs. We have people with companion animals, people who are escorted by their aides, and we also have lots of people who work downtown. It is a vital link to the viability of what's left of Nicollet Mall. We have nowhere to shop in Loring Park. The only thing available locally is Nicollet Mall. I went to a recent meeting of the council and the city of Minneapolis at the library in downtown. I also attended the one at IDS Center. Nothing that I saw changed my mind. I met many people who worked for the city and for the council, and when I told them my thoughts on the subject, every person there that I spoke to would say to me, we hear a lot of that. We hear a lot of that. There's a lot of silent opposition out there. It's amazing how many people I talk to are not aware of what's happening. And in fairness to the city, they have tried to educate people. I got the yellow sign. Okay, I better talk fast. I wondered where the sign was going to be. We have a stop sign. Anyway, it's vital to us. And if it's diverted, if the buses are diverted to Marquette, there is no light rail station there. There is no light rail station on 2nd Avenue. The light rail that's on Hennepin, I wouldn't recommend to anybody unless you want to get mugged, stabbed, shot, or killed by an automobile. It's just not good planning. There is nothing. These are local buses. Let's stress that. There's nothing on Marquette, 2nd, or Hennepin that isn't already provided. And the mayor has said that he wants to do this because people will be able to walk on Nicollet Mall. People walk on Nicollet Mall now. They choose to walk on Nicollet Mall, even in sub-zero temperature. I do not. I choose to ride, and I want to keep on riding. So please save our buses. I only have 3 minutes. I couldn't possibly cover 60 years of bus history on Nicollet Mall, so I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your comments. Appreciate it. And is there anyone else in attendance who would like to address the council on matters not on the agenda? All right. Well, thank you for your comments, and we'll move on to our joint reports. And we are going to hear, I think, first a presentation from our division directors. Welcome, Lisa, and Charles.
Good job.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Barajas, Executive Director of the Community Development Division.
And I'm Lisa Thompson, General Manager for Environmental Services.
I'm Charles Carlson, Executive Director for MTS.
And as executive co-sponsors of Imagine 2050, we're here to bring this item to you all. We'll be tag teaming today, and Lisa will kick us off.
And I'm excited to have the pleasure of kicking this off because I get to talk about some history. As the banners around the hallways and in the elevators remind us, we're on this together. And that isn't just a slogan. It reflects the spirit we embraced when we began preparing for this work back in 2017, a long time ago. At that time, we recognized the challenge ahead, which was transforming our approach to this work as a collective, while also enhancing regional engagement. Our journey began with a commitment to learn together. We created a cohort that gathered over the course of a year, dedicating several days to learn how to design and lead change. This learning was applied directly to the challenges faced by the Met Council, and one of the teams within that cohort specifically worked on optimizing regional planning. Though some members of the cohort moved on due to attrition, those who remain have proven to be true all-stars, achieving a new level of collaboration that has set the foundation for continued success. This marked the beginning of our efforts to rethink our process. And in 2018, Lisa Barajas, Nick Thompson, and I began meeting with the regional planning cohort to discuss the next phase of the regional development process. What you see here is some of the brainstorming from one of those early meetings. That effort was rooted in the commitment for the three of us to collaborate and support a council-wide initiative to raise the collaboration of our staff on the regional planning process. And we identified a lot of moving parts to the complexity of this. And we determined that we needed a common schedule because not all the parts of the plan had the same finish lines. And so that was also a bit of a stretch for us. We anticipated key milestones along the way, such as the U.S. Census, gubernatorial elections, legislative changes, and we mapped our goals toward the end result. Although we did not anticipate a change in co-sponsors, losing Nick Thompson, we're grateful for Charles' addition to the team and whose contributions have been invaluable to the success of this work. He did not miss a beat when he joined us with this effort. So thank you, Charles. The 5 whys of an integrated approach across the council. Number 1, creating shared understanding of regional issues at the beginning of plan creation. Seeing where our intersection of our parts existed. Building on prior success while still making space for innovation. Tackling the cross-cutting issues faced by our region together, taking a systemic approach. And expanding and improving stakeholder engagement. And lastly, breaking down siloed thinking in planning, engagement, and addressing regional issues.
So building off of that work and anticipating that this won't change, I will just keep talking, anticipating those changes along the way, we spent a lot of time reviewing and looking back at what the region was already telling us about commonly shared visions and values that they were sharing with us in our engagement efforts, in things like our visitor studies, things like our travel behavior inventory, what was already in local comprehensive plans, and looking to our existing engagements and those recently adopted 2040 local comprehensive plans to draw out shared values and common elements around shared visions. We brought that information to you, and you all crafted the vision that you'll see on the next slide, probably, there we go, on this slide here today. In the comments we received on the plan throughout that planning process, but in the public comment process in particular, we heard strong agreement and alignment with both this regional vision here, the core values that you also developed as part of this regional plan of equity, accountability, leadership, and stewardship. And finally, on those 5 regional cross-cutting goals that you all had developed as we were working on this early in the process. These cross-cutting goals really set the stage for all of that policy work that then followed, whether it was in the transportation policy plan, the water policy plan, or land use policy, or regional parks, that every element was aligned toward addressing these regional goals to the point that Lisa was making earlier around how do we make the biggest impact we can by aligning all of our parts across the council. What was new about this process, in addition to that, was really taking an integrated and multidisciplinary approach to our long-range planning, really centering resident voices and experiences in this work, and developing equity frameworks to guide our planning process across all those elements. These goals are meant to capture and address the big issues facing our region today that no one community, no one organization, no one division of the council can address or solve on their own. We both experience the impacts across our areas of responsibility in each of these goals and have the opportunity to advance the regional goals across every element that the council is responsible for: housing, parks, land use, transportation, and water.
In addition to the internal work and the collaboration that was just described and resulted in this vision, these goals, the council also established numerous working groups, advisory teams, and technical groups comprised of external parties to guide our planning, engagement, and policy development. And I'll speak to the transportation process because I'm the most familiar with it, but it certainly isn't unique to what we did in transportation. Specific development of the TPP began in 2022 with over 50 listening sessions around the region. These were so successful, we did it again as we did our regional solicitation redesign kickoff. And under Councilmember Barber's leadership, we formed an advisory working group comprised primarily of local elected officials from around the region. That group met 15 times over the last 2 years to shape the plan. We also formed a technical group from local governments and other agencies that met 23 times, and that's in addition to the formal advisory bodies directing the plan per statute, such as the Transportation Advisory Board and its technical committees. So that's just a sampling of the transportation content. Close engagement of stakeholders occurred across system plans and resulted in improved regional plans even before the public comment period. In the case of the TPP, it was improved through over 3,000 stakeholder comments prior to the official public process. So stakeholders were key to a plan that made it not the council's plan, but the region's plan.
A big heartfelt thank goes to a lot of staff members who worked alongside stakeholders to craft Imagine 2050. I'm going to try not to leave anybody out, and the list is fairly long. Beyond the plan's authors, there were countless additional staff that played pivotal roles in supporting the engagement efforts, conducting research and analysis, creating visualizations and maps, editing content, building the website, communicating the work, managing the purchasing of materials and supplies, and printing and coordinating printing and posting for all of our meetings, especially the council's formal sessions. It's a long list, a lot of people with a lot of passion about this work, because we don't do it every day, and when we do it, we know it needs to do a lot of great, good stuff for this region for 10 years. This has been an immense effort, and I think it's a beginning of real, true collaboration, not only within the council, but with the region.
So in terms of the public comment period, as detailed in the public comment reports that were posted with the agenda, we received, as the council, extensive comments and engagement during the public comment period. A summary of themes for each chapter is included in the reports and direct responses to comments that had been submitted. So over 2,000 comments from 500 organizations and individuals that, again, staff diligently reviewed and then translated into changes in the plans. Notable changes in the plan in a number of areas, so adjusted language and clarity on definitions and expectations for local plans. We all remember the fantastic engagement with the American Indian Advisory Council and the wonderful experience of that, and the Committee of the Whole meeting back in September in Minneapolis on that. That resulted not just in response to comments, but substantive commitments that the council is making in response to that engagement. So fantastic shaping of the process and our work moving forward. Adjustments to local forecasts as information is available from communities. Transit project adjustments. So there were some transitway project changes during the public comment period that we've reflected in the final report. There was also, maybe more significantly related to public input, there was a strong desire for the council to shape a future transit vision for the region that will be continuing to define and then ultimately reflecting in a work plan and bringing forward in the future. And then finally, updated language on objectives in the plan to clarify and solidify the plan content. So more detail on these changes was discussed through each of the standing committee processes and the reports through the council's committees. And that resulted in the policy documents that you see posted with the agenda today that collectively comprise Imagine 2050.
And this is a huge milestone, but the work is just beginning. The real work is going to unfold in the coming years. And these are a few examples of next steps staff will be tackling in the coming year. We're going to prepare a published version of the Imagine 2050 along with a web platform to provide a more interactive experience for our region. We're developing the local planning handbook and related materials to assist local governments as they begin their comprehensive planning processes. We're implementing internal efforts to help educate and inform our own employees across the council on the significance of Imagine 2050 and its implications for their work. This includes updates to the business item on the Thrive lens, So you'll see something coming on that. And aligning our grants programs with the goals and priorities that are outlined in Imagine 2050.
So that brings us to the proposed action in front of you today. Probably easier to read in the business item than on the slide here. But the first being that the council accept and consolidate the public comment reports for Imagine 2050 that are posted online. You'll see there are 7, I believe, that came from our committees. Then to adopt Imagine 2050, which includes all of those elements that are listed in A through E, and that they supersede and replace previous iterations of those plans. To adopt the local forecast through 2050 as shown in Appendix A of the Vision, Values, Goals component of Imagine 2050. And then finally to authorize council staff to finalize Imagine 2050 for publication, including making any non-substantive edits for typographical errors, plain language, et cetera, and to produce Imagine 2050 for local government and public users. So with that, I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you, Lisa, Charles. And honestly, it is a momentous day, and thank you for all your efforts, your staff's efforts, and by just looking around the room, knowing how many fingerprints are on this series of documents, it reflects quite a bit about our competence, our vision, and our hope for the future. And I love how you've said this is a culmination, but it's a beginning. And our work is just starting. Now, I think we'll first start by advancing the motion, and then we'll open up an opportunity for discussion, comments, questions. Councilmember Lilligren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I am happy to move the proposed action from staff as we see it on the slide. And if I can get a second, I would love to say a few words about it.
Sure. Is there's a second? Councilmember Lilligren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and really thanks to the staff that's represented here who have been working on this for a very long time. And it's just been an amazing process. And I was just kind of thinking back, I think this is probably my 4th comprehensive planning process that I've been part of. I think 2020 was the first one as a resident activist, right, from outside government. By 2030, I was a Minneapolis City Council member. 2040, a community development, a community level leader, and now this from the inside. And I've just been so impressed at every level. But this has just been something really special, I think. And one of the things I would really lift up is the sort of integrated approach across our own organization. And I understand it's kind of a new and fresh and different way of approaching it. And it really shows, it makes it kind of harder, I think, right? When you're trying to integrate that as you go along. But I think the result is stronger than it would have been absent that. And I want to thank not just the staff, but all the council members for the level of engagement. And I've been really impressed with how council members were integrated into the process, especially as we're doing those highlight things, right? The vision, the core values, the regional goals. And I felt really engaged. It kind of, I'm an organizer, a community organizer at heart, so I love big pieces of paper on the white paper on the walls and, Post-its, posters, so that really satisfied me. But I think, again, the results are stronger because of that level of engagement. And so thanks to staff for that. Thanks to council members. Another thing I want to lift up, and of course the great presentation we just had, is the community engagement piece. And we've all been parts of community engagement processes. At the end of the day, you always ask yourself, did we do enough? Did we do enough? And it's sometimes a challenge to do everything, right? And make sure that every person is engaged. But I really believe we went above and beyond with Imagine 2050 in engaging our communities and really, as was just reported, tried to center voices from some of our communities that don't always participate, not just the American Indian Advisory Council, but through our advisory groups, our networks. I think we can see where recommendations came from communities. Communities will see their perspectives and voices reflected in this document. I really look forward to moving into implementation, right? This is a step. It's been a lot of work, but there's going to be a lot more to come. And throughout this, we've heard a lot of feedback from the communities we serve about how they want to be engaged in the next steps. And as we move toward implementation, and then just, this is across all committees, across all departments and divisions, but I really want to thank the community development staff for really supporting the community development committee in advancing this. And there were some pieces of this, especially in land use, having to do with density, that became very robust, as we say in government, robust debates and conversations. And I really want to thank my fellow community development committee members for sticking with it, really lift up the work that people did to bring their perspectives and represent their districts very well, and work above and beyond that many community members did to engage their communities around this conversation. And just say that I think what we're voting on tonight represents a compromise position, right? And so I hope that communities feel heard and engaged in that, but it's just been a really rewarding process. So thanks to you, thanks to everyone here, and thanks to those across the enterprise who aren't represented here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments, questions, thoughts? Councilmember Carter.
I would just echo those thoughts, really, but also want to say a sincere thanks to staff and to council members, to all of the leadership and all of the participants who made this such a vibrant process. It is intriguing to be involved in something that is so large and yet has so many impacts within our region and so many details that have to be looked after, not just at the period in time that the work of the Regional Development Guide is happening, but years before. And so thank you for bringing all of that consistency into this process, paying attention to the dynamics of today, engaging our community. As a part of the Regional Development Guide work group, I also want to thank the members of the work group who looked over this work with community development and really had a key role in helping to bring back and forth the vision and mission and values. And I'm just thankful that our community has peeked into this work and also felt that it is appropriate for the region at this point in time, that this is the vision that we are iterating together. So again, thank you so much for the substantial work. It is going to last for years and impact us for generations. Appreciate it. Look forward to moving this forward.
We have to hear from the other Carter on the other side of the room.
The other Carter, the
Councilmember
anti-Carter today. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, and I appreciate that. And I've been hearing and meeting with a lot of members of my community over this issue. And one of the things I've also heard a lot about is density. And so I'm going to just say that I appreciate the movement because I understand that number moved, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to say that I do need a lower number if I'm going to vote for this, give a yes. So I wouldn't be able to give a yes today. I just want to come out and say that. But I appreciate the work, and I appreciate the overall plan.
All right, any other comments? Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to add my thanks to everybody who's been in this process. It's far and wide, and we can give a lot of credit to our staff for that because they were the one that did the reach. I agree with Councilmember Lilligren and all of you for sure that we've got new voices in this process that should have been in a process for many, many years ago, but it was exciting to learn and hear from people from across the community I might not interact with on a daily basis. I also really want to appreciate Councilmember Carter for leading us in the work group. We rolled up our sleeves. We had some really good discussions. Staff was there to guide us. Sometimes it got tough, but in a good way. I think we were respectful along the way as we brought up challenges and concerns or ideas kind of outside the box. So thank you for your leadership. I want to thank Chair Lilligren for the back and forthing we did at CDC. I think it was almost like watching a tennis match for a while. But I really appreciate that aspect of governance where you can bring ideas forward, colleagues maintain their respect for one another. And I think that's how we do our work. I will just say better. I think the best comes from it. So speaking to the density issue, I really know that was a tough discussion for CDC. We were pretty evenly divided. I think just knowing where this council would fall, we'd still be today very evenly divided. And so CDC, as we worked to go from 3 to 4, we did land at 3.5, and that is what is being moved today. And while I have communities that were very solidly concerned with 4, I'll be meeting with many of them tonight at the Choo Choo in Loretto. I think that I am very pleased to support 3.5 because, you know, in working with my communities, they know we took a stance and I think came up with the, maybe not perfect in everyone's mind, but I think that's where you get really good solutions. And I know that staff will continue to work with them after this is adopted, whenever they do have pinch points and problems and concerns. And I recognize that that commitment is there too to the communities that are still concerned maybe with 3.5. So I'm pleased to support this today. And just for Councilmember Carter, I understand where you're coming from, and this is one piece of a really big body of work that I think we could still be very proud of.
Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very quick shout out to the Transportation Policy Plan team. As Charles mentioned, there were a lot of people from different groups, including TAB, agency representatives, council members, technical people. We really took a different approach to this time. And when we dove in 2 years ago, and first question we asked was, what could we do better from the last time? And we took that to heart and really kind of built on that over time. So I really am very appreciative of everyone who participated, very much to Charles. I see Jed Hansen back there and Cole Hineker, who were really integral in that effort. So I just really appreciate it, and I'm really proud of this work because I think we did a really good job. So I'm very happy with it. As far as some of the other comments that have been made, I've been talking with my communities, and my communities are very happy that they felt heard, that there were some changes made. And I've been out in a couple of communities recently in the last couple of weeks, and they're very appreciative. So I think, you know, something big like this, not everybody gets what they want all the time, but I think we came up with some solutions that work for the region.
Thank you. Any other? Councilmember Lindstrom.
Thanks. I want to talk about water for a second, something our committee, Environment Committee, has talked a lot about. You know, and obviously thank the staff and the stakeholders. There was a slide put up at one of our last meetings that showed maybe a couple dozen staff just on the water side that were involved with this, so incredibly grateful. Not to give you too much of a play-by-play of what I've been up to today, but I'll just share that when I rolled out of bed today at 5:30 or so, I got myself a cup of coffee. That coffee was grown by water, used water to make the coffee, and then jumped on a treadmill that was made using some industrial process that used water, most likely. It was powered by electricity, steam, turning turbines, using water. My colleague sitting next to me will be grateful that I took a shower after exercising, using water. I put on clean clothes today that were made clean by water. I made myself some oatmeal, oats grown by water. I put some apples in there, grown by water. And I made myself a cup of tea with water. I probably used the bathroom after a couple of cups of tea. And so water is like the Force in Star Wars. It flows through us, literally, and it is all around us. And that was before 8 a.m. today. I really appreciate the One Water approach that this plan is putting forward. We like to put labels on water. We say groundwater or stormwater or surface water or wastewater. Water doesn't know what water is. It's water, and we're not making any more of it. So we better take darn good care of it. And I think this plan puts us in a good position. It's a really synergistic approach that will serve us well. On Monday, I was at the Regional Council of Mayors meeting, and it was about imagining the future. Tom Fisher from the U of M led the conversation, and Jack Aldrich, a futurist, with about 30 mayors. And the point was brought up that you have to understand the past to really plan for the future. And I was thinking about the past and as it relates to water. And I live in Falcon Heights. And in 1898, true story, just learned this today, 400 soldiers mobilized in Falcon Heights. Not all people from Falcon Heights. They all came to Falcon Heights to the state fair in 1898 to prepare for the Spanish-American War. And they got sick. They got typhoid because of the water that they drank, and were not able to serve their country because of poor water. And so I think about the future, and I'm wearing my Sesame Street tie today. My mother-in-law was instrumental in creating Sesame Street back in the 1960s. And so thinking about the future, thinking about young people today that will be sitting in these seats in 2050. And I'm wearing my cool polar bear socks today, thinking about all the climate-related things that are in this plan. And just thinking about the future and hoping, like, typhoid is not something that we have to deal with now, thank God. And hopefully, in the decades to come, there are things that we are challenged with today, PFAS, nitrates, other contaminants of concern related to water, that this plan will put us on a pathway to having a brighter future.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't going to say anything, but after that, I have to. Councilmember Lindstrom, that was phenomenal, and I hope that we can get a clip of this. I'd like a clip of his remarks that I can send to a bunch of retired teachers in Wilmer, Minnesota, who would love to see a former student giving such an eloquent message. That was fabulous. I also want to thank you for taking a shower, because although I'm not right now,
Exactly.
but, I've known Peter's family. I first met them back in the 70s when I was teaching in Wilmer, and he comes from a phenomenal family. So not only does he have a creative mother-in-law, but he also has a really cool mom and dad and a couple of pretty fantastic siblings. So kudos to the Lindstroms for raising such a great son. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I think, thank you, Councilmember Vento. And Councilmember Vento knows half the state, so I'm just saying.
He's working on the other half.
I think we're ready for a vote. And with that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
This motion carried.
And did you get this one over here? Or
One
he raised his
opposed.
hand.
Yes, I got that. Congratulations, everyone. And we've talked about the importance of the staff. I really do want to recognize the importance of this council. We have a tremendous leadership from the committee chairs. Appreciate what you've said and really all your hard work over the years. Also, Councilmember Carter, appreciate your taking a leadership role in coordinating this effort. And as we've just heard and we discussed, our work is in front of us as we talk about implementation. And I just want to take a note that we're going to schedule a committee of the whole to really have a conversation about what does that mean? What does implementation mean? And what role does the council play and with our stakeholders? So just as a note that we'll have an opportunity for more conversation. robust conversation or not, as Councilman could say.
Maybe give the staff a round of applause.
Yeah, I'm just. They're clever.
Thank you.
They're so clever, too.
This was an environment committee, right? Environment committee.
Where those are paper straws.
Yeah, we're
We're on to the consent agenda. And unless anyone wants to take an item out, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent business items.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those consent business items are approved. On to the non-consent committee reports. Community Development, Councilmember Billigren.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, committee, or colleagues. The Community Development Committee brings 2 items for consideration this evening, 2 additional items. The first is 2025-6. It's to establish a regional parks and trails planning handbook. And this is its first of its kind, first ever. Hats off to staff and leadership within the Parks Department, and this is really, I feel like, in response to what we hear from our communities, where how do we make things easier, right? And so this is sort of reorganizing information that was contained in the Parks Policy Plan or separate business items or disconnected sources, and it's putting it all into one place. It's a brand new approach. It was developed concurrent with the 2050 Regional Parks and Trails Policy Plan, and it's meant to complement that. It contains procedural, contextual language, outlines processes, requirements, and criteria for the Regional Parks and Trails system. It contains tools, and we've heard that a lot from our communities. They're looking for more tools from Met Council to do their work, and resources for the regional park implementing agencies to fulfill requirements. It draws content out of the policy plan, combines it with resources, administrative guidance for our processes, and the handbook includes a procedure to guide of how that will be regularly updated every 4 years now. So we'll keep it current and engage with our communities and implementing agencies to do that. And the remaining sections of the handbook will be updated as new information, data, tools, and resources become available. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council establish the Regional Parks and Trails Planning Handbook as the administrative guide for regional parks and trails long-range planning requirements. We adopt the attached Regional Parks and Trails Planning Handbook itself, authorize the council staff to make administrative changes to the handbook over time, including additions and updates to related tools and resources. And finally, direct council staff to bring any updates that directly impact or necessitate implementing agency action related to sections 3, 5, 6, and 7 of the planning handbook to the council for approval, aligning with any updates to the Regional Parks and Trails Policy Plan.
Second.
There was a second. Thank you. Any comments, questions? All right. Yes, Councilmember Vento.
Mr. Chair, if I could, as a liaison to MPOSC, I just want to give a shout out to Colin and Kevin and Tracy for the great work that they've done on the handbook, and to the agency partners. All of the agencies were actively engaged, as well as the MPOSC commissioners. They really dug in and had a great discussion about it, and were very much engaged and unanimously support the creation of this handbook. So thank you very much to the staff.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a very, very brief comment, but I just want to say, like in 2040, when we adopted that plan, it was the local planning handbook that was such an important tool for local governments to be able to understand and get how to do things, but also get access to tools and things like that. I see this as a similar thing, and anything we can do to help make things easier in some of our local entities is very helpful. So thank you.
Great, thanks. And thanks, Councilmember Vento, for MPOS's activity and input.
Nice.
All right, well, no more discussion. We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion carried. Now on to trees, which take water. Councilmember Lilly.
Yeah, thanks. Another exciting item coming forward, Mr. Chair, council members, this is business item 2025-45, and it's to approve the Community Tree Planting Grant Program. In summary, the 2024 legislative session, the legislature directed the council to establish a community tree planting program, and the direction language from the program included an appropriation of $2.5 million for the council to be used by June 2026. So fairly rapid implementation. And since the session, council staff have worked with Community Development Committee and local government and state agency partners to develop this council's community tree planting grant program. The attached notice of funding availability will make these funds available to the local units of government to remove and plant trees on public land to provide environmental benefits, replace trees lost to forest pests, disease, or storms, and establish a more diverse community forest better able to withstand disease and forest pests. The program prioritizes removing and replacing ash trees, areas with vulnerable populations, and serving residents that experience urban heat island effect. This program is one of the ways the council is able to advance both its equity and climate goals. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the attached notice of funding availability for the community tree planting program.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's great that we had that opportunity.
Agreed.
Appreciate it. On to no reports from Environment nor Management Committees, but the Transportation Committee. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one item tonight. So, Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2025-34 is regarding approval of updates to the adopted zero-emission bus transition plan. As required under a new Minnesota statute established in 2024, staff have updated the adopted zero-emissions bus transition plan to address new statutory requirements. An information item was presented to the full council at the January 23rd meeting to discuss the highlights and key considerations of the updated report. The plan is grounded in three guiding principles of technical viability, equity and environmental justice, and fiscal impact. The updated plan discusses both what we know based upon our learned experience, as well as areas for continued studies to aid in future decisions related to transition to zero-emission buses. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council approve updates to the adopted zero-emission bus transition plan for submittal to the Minnesota State Legislature by February 15, 2025, as required by Minnesota Statute 473.3927.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you. And then our last other business item is the Metropolitan Council member committee assignments, which I think everyone knows by council bylaws, the council chair recommends to the council for approval at its first regular meeting in February or as soon thereafter as possible, or kind of membership of each standing committee. And this business item, which I won't read in its entirety, but it has committee assignments as well as many of the other advisory and other committee assignments, and there are many that we're all involved. And I just want to say appreciate the leadership that we've had in our committees and the committee engagement. This is really where the work gets done, and I know that we've made some changes based upon both recommendations and expressions of interest. We are bringing some leadership changes to bring other voices forward. So I appreciate everybody who have been engaged in leadership roles and those that are taking on more responsibility. The dirty little secret is Met Council membership takes a lot of meetings, a lot of time, and hopefully they're interesting. I know they're important, so I thank you all for the work you do. With that, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the business item 2025-42.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion? It's too late if you want to really whine to me about something. It's never too late. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, that motion
Mr.
carried.
Chair, if I might, I will be leaving the CDC committee, and I just want to thank everyone who served on that, and especially Councilmember Lilligren, who chairs that committee. We've done some really great work over the past, 6 going on 7 years as a team, and I will miss it, but I'll keep an eye on things. And to the Housing Policy Work Group, whoever is on that, currently I was on that for a while too, so it's not that I'm disinterested anymore in that, but I finally was able to get on transportation. So got a little Highway 55 projects on my prayer list, so maybe one day I'll see it happen. But anyways, big believer in regional transit and
Arm,
transportation.
the shoulder really hurts. Though.
Yeah, I know.
Miss you, Judy.
But thank you.
And I also make a point that all committees are open for attendance to anybody who wants to come by, so you can always do that. I also want to just note that, not that this is the first time ever, but it's the first time in a little while we have full attendance at this meeting, and I really appreciate that. And because we have full attendance and a photographer in the room, a couple of members might be leaving soon, can we just stay and have a photograph? This is, we didn't tell you ahead of time that this was picture day, but it is. So however we look, it'd be great. John, before we. Exactly. Can we? Hours, it's a really good day to do it.
Document this major accomplishment.
Any other reports, regional administrator?
No reports, Mr. Chair.
All right, Ms. General Counsel.
Yeah, I'm glad that the employees all got the notice that they have to stay through my report instead of leaving early. I think as general counsel, one of the best things is that I get to be at this table for the really big events like today. And I just want to give a shout out to the staff and to the council for the thousands of hours of work that went into all of these documents. I've seen it from a lot of different angles. You should all be very proud of yourself. So many voices were heard. And take a pause tonight, take a breath, soak that in, because the real work starts tomorrow as we implement it. And then, it starts all over again. So I'm just appreciative to be a part of that, and just kudos to everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We can't improve on those final comments. So with that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry, you skipped council members' reports.
You noticed. Councilmember Benson.
Just as a reminder, for anybody if you know of anybody who's interested in applying for one of the 2 vacancies on the council, the deadline for applying is February 14th. Is yours February 14th also? Okay. And if you know of anybody who's interested, they've got a couple more days. 4 o'clock Friday, they got to get their applications in. So please encourage anyone you know that's interested. They have to live in the district that they're applying for in order to be qualified, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I just want to report and make sure everyone here in the chambers is aware, and our vast listening audience as well, that this Friday will be the annual Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives March in Minneapolis. Used to be Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, but it's been broadened. It's a long-standing annual event in the community. It'll step off from the Minneapolis American Indian Center, which I think we've all been to, and at 11 o'clock will be the gathering. It'll go till about 2 o'clock and end in a lot of community events and awareness. So
That's on
everyone's
Friday. Welcome. On Friday.
On Friday, on Valentine's, yep, February
Okay.
14th.
Okay. All right. Any other reports, thoughts for the day? We have a minute. All right. Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Oh. This is going to go late.
It looked like it.
Maybe we can.